UFC London just delivered a shockwave of drama and controversy. Joe Rogan is blasting a fight as crazy bad, and we've got all the explosive details you need to know, right here, right now. Don't miss a second, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Dana White is weighing in on Nate Diaz's massive new deal with Jake Paul's MVP, and you won't believe what he had to say about their last conversation. We're breaking down the biggest move in free agency, so stay locked in. Shanelle Dyer is declaring statement fights coming every time after her dominant UFC London debut, and we're diving deep into what her TKO win means for the strawweight division. Get ready for more fireworks. And after a controversial main event loss at UFC London, what's next for the incredibly talented Lerone Murphy? We're analyzing his future, potential matchups, and whether a title shot is still on the horizon. Don't go anywhere, we've got all the answers. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Your brand new iPhone deserves the best protection, and the iLune 3-Pack Screen Protector Plus 3-Pack Camera Lens Protector has you covered. Don't take risks with your iPhone. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
Joe Rogan calls UFC London fight crazy bad. During the recent UFC London event, a particular bout between Michael Venom Page and Sam Patterson drew the ire of podcasting icon Joe Rogan, who described it as potentially having the least action of any fight ever. Rogan, who wasn't officially on commentary but hosted a Fight Companion podcast, didn't hold back, calling the contest crazy bad and noting how Patterson's style, while limiting Page, didn't lead to any significant success for himself. Rogan elaborated on his podcast, comparing the lack of action to the infamous Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou fight. He highlighted the strategic challenge Patterson presented to Page, a fighter known for his flashy striking, explaining that knowing Page's distance and speed gave Patterson a significant advantage in nullifying his opponent's offense. Rogan suggested this fight could be detrimental to Page's career, as other fighters might now adopt a similar, less engaging strategy against him. UFC President Dana White also weighed in, admitting it wasn't a great fight and calling it bad. Michael Venom Page, who signed with the UFC in 2024, has yet to secure a knockout in the promotion, a factor Page himself believes may have impacted his matchmaking for UFC London. Fans and analysts are debating whether the judges' scoring was accurate, and the fight has sparked discussions about pacing and opponent selection in the UFC. What does this mean for Michael Venom Page's future in the promotion? Will this dull display impact future matchmaking, or is it just a blip on the radar? Stay tuned as we break down the fallout from UFC London and what it means for the fighters involved. Nate Diaz signs with Jake Paul's MVP. Dana White reveals prior talks. In a surprising turn of events, UFC veteran Nate Diaz has officially signed with Jake Paul's most valuable promotions, MVP, to face Mike Perry on May 16th, a card that will also feature Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano and will stream live on Netflix. This move comes after weeks of speculation about Diaz's potential return to the UFC, with many anticipating a trilogy fight against Conor McGregor. UFC CEO Dana White confirmed that Diaz had met with him just a couple of weeks prior to the MVP announcement, indicating that a UFC return was on the table. White stated that he had a good time during their meeting and believes Diaz simply received an offer he couldn't refuse, especially given the potential payday. While White expressed happiness for Diaz, he remained non-committal about any future UFC collaborations, stating they'll see what happens after Diaz's fight with Perry. This marks Diaz's first MMA fight since 2022 and Perry's first since leaving the UFC in 2021. The event, taking place in California, is expected to generate significant interest, with Perry himself calling it the biggest payday of his career. The combat sports world is buzzing about this high-profile signing, with fans eager to see how Diaz fares against Perry and what this partnership with MVP signifies for the future of boxing and MMA crossover events. Could this be the start of a new era for fighter promotions, or just a lucrative one-off for Nate Diaz? Stick around as we explore the implications of this major signing and then shift our focus to the octagon for a fighter's bold declaration. Shanelle Dyer vows statement fights after dominant UFC debut. Shanelle Dyer made a resounding statement in her UFC debut at UFC London, securing a second-round TKO victory over Ravena Oliveira. Despite a previous decision loss on Dana White's Contender Series, Dyer capitalized on her UFC opportunity, overwhelming Oliveira with a decisive finish. Dyer, fighting in front of her home crowd in England, described the experience as memorable, but emphasized her focus on making her mark in the women's strawweight division. "The world has learned that Shanelle Dyer is here to stay, and we're going to put on statements every single time I step in the octagon," Dyer declared after the fight. She expressed that while her game plan is always to win, her intention is to finish her opponents decisively, a promise she delivered on against Oliveira. This victory marks Dyer's first win in the UFC, moving her professional record to 7-1. Fans and analysts are impressed by Dyer's power and determination, seeing her as a rising contender in the competitive strawweight division. Her performance has generated significant buzz, with many anticipating her next move. Will Shanelle Dyer's promise of statement fights hold true in her future octagon appearances? We'll find out, but first, we're turning our attention to the main event and a fighter seeking to rebound from a tough loss. What's next for Lerone Murphy after controversial UFC London main event loss? Lerone Murphy's potential title shot hopes took a hit after a majority decision loss to Movsar Evloev in the main event of UFC London. The fight, a highly anticipated featherweight clash between two undefeated contenders, saw Evloev ultimately get the nod from the judges, though the decision has been widely debated. Murphy, a hometown favorite, kept the striking exchanges close through the first 3 rounds, with some observers even scoring the bout in his favor entering the championship rounds. However, Evloev secured dominant 4th and 5th rounds, leading to the judges scoring the fight 49-46 twice and 48-47 once for Evloev. Despite the loss, Murphy's standing in the featherweight division remains strong. UFC President Dana White acknowledged that it wasn't a great fight, but stated that Murphy won, which is what matters, while also noting he doesn't know what's next for him. Analysts suggest potential future matchups for Murphy could include fights against Yair Rodriguez or the winner of the Aljamain Sterling vs. Youssef Zalal bout, indicating he is still very much in the mix for top-tier competition. The controversial decision has ignited passionate discussions among fans and media alike, with many feeling Murphy was deserving of a draw or even the win. His performance, despite the outcome, has solidified his reputation as a dangerous contender. Can Lerone Murphy bounce back from this setback and still reach the featherweight summit? We'll continue to track his journey, but first, let's recap all the major UFC London headlines you need to know. Joe Rogan slammed a UFC London fight as crazy bad. Nate Diaz inked a massive deal with Jake Paul's MVP. Shanelle Dyer promised statement fights after a dominant debut, and Lerone Murphy faces an uncertain future after a controversial main event loss. That's all the UFC London drama you need. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for all the latest news, hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, leave a comment below with your thoughts on these fights, and follow us on all social media platforms for more exclusive content. We'll see you in the next one.